game which many proclaimed as dead just months ago is now seeing almost all-time high numbers of active players. That game is of course The Division 2. Many of these active players are brand new, just starting out on their journey through the Division universe. Whilst many experienced players know how to take full advantage and optimise their grinding to put together completely god-rolled builds in just minutes, some of this may be less obvious or outright confusing to new and more casual players alike. For instance, have you ever heard the words recalibrate, optimise, proficiency, expertise thrown around and had no idea what they meant? In this video, I'm going to give you a full breakdown of the entire build system in the Division 2, covering off every single aspect that contributes to getting your builds completely god-rolled in no time. This guide will include crafting and blueprints, recalibration, optimization, and expertise. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I also stream on Twitch, so if you want to catch me live, ask questions, or just hang out, follow me at twitch.tv/Hutchler. Finally, I've timestamped each section so that you can skip ahead or revisit sections as and when you need to. Let's get into it. So before we get into the meat and bones, I want to touch on some definitions which I'll refer to throughout the video. Firstly, scavenging points. Scavenging points are points which land in the scavenging section of your SHD watch and can be permanently claimed in return for resources of your choice. Until Shade level 1000, you'll get 1 scavenging point per 5 levels, as 4 out of 5 points will be going into the character buff sections. After you reach level 1000, you'll get 1 scavenging point per level, and this is uncapped, meaning a Shade level 10,000 player who hasn't claimed a single point would have 1000 divided by 5 is 200, and plus 9000 times 1 is 9000, and that makes a total of 9200 scavenging points. Next, I'm going to refer to WONIes at some points in the video. WONI is an abbreviation for the game's level 40 expansion, Warlords of New York. But why is that relevant to gear farming, I hear you ask? Ever since WONI released, there's been a trick that can be used to instantly farm lots of resources, which varies dependent on your shade level. If a player creates a new character and runs only the WONI campaign, they'll be given a brand new shade watch with their original shade level and all of the scavenging points that correspond to that shade level. WONI runs have become a fine art, being able to be completed in under an hour with some coordination, meaning that this can be an incredibly lucrative method for gaining huge numbers of resources to craft, optimize, recalibrate, or expertise within a short space of time. Now that we've got the basic definitions out of the way, let's move on to the first element of the game's build system that you'll be using: crafting. Crafting is a major component of the game across all players. In early game, you'll rely on this to get all of your weapon mods, and in later game this will replace farming for the harder to get pieces and optimization materials. More on that later. So firstly, where is the crafting table? There are 3 crafting tables available in the game, 2 in the White House and 1 in the New York White House equivalent, Haven. All of these crafting tables have identical functionality, so which you use is just a matter of preference and convenience. So what does the crafting table do? At its core, the crafting table is pretty self-explanatory. It allows you to craft items. In order to craft an item, you require some resources which vary dependent on the item you're crafting, which are attained via opening resource crates around the map, deconstructing gear, or claiming scavenging points. Alongside resources, you'll need a blueprint for the item you're farming for. Blueprints are tied to a range of activities: quests, side missions, season levels, and challenging or heroic control points. And once you've unlocked a blueprint, it has infinite uses. To view resource requirements for a certain piece, just open the crafting table up, hover over the blueprint you want to craft, and the resources will be shown on screen. The game will even tell you whether you have enough of each, denoted by red or green fractions. If you have enough resources and now want to craft that piece, you can just press the button bound to craft. If you're unsure on which button this is, you can just look at the bottom of the screen, which will tell you. It's worth noting that the gear you get from the crafting table seems to have either a very low or no minimum roll, so expect bad quality loot. Unless you have the materials to significantly improve pieces or craft multiple copies of them to get the rolls you're looking for, you shouldn't rely on this for gear farming. That said, in later game where you do have access to more resources than you know what to do with, this can be a viable farming strategy for lazy people like me, in combination with optimization, which we'll cover next. On the topic of loot quality, and to disprove a common myth, global difficulty and directives have no effect on crafting quality, so don't worry about changing any of that before crafting. So that covers off the basic blueprint crafting to craft a new item, but what about exotics? You have blueprints for exotics, so does that mean you can craft them? The answer to this is yes and no. You do have exotics visible, but you'll see from the crafting requirements that you require the exotic itself to use this blueprint. So what does it do? This crafting blueprint will actually take your current exotic and re-roll the stats, giving you a chance at a better roll. Note that if you already have a high roll, this may not be worth doing unless you have the resources to roll many times. There's no guarantee that rolls go up, and if you're close to max, there's a good chance you'll end up with a worse item than you started with. In short, practice common sense and use the exotic recalibration cautiously. In addition to this, because the exotic calibration is coded to give you an entirely new exotic, you'll need to resave any loadouts which that exotic was originally saved with. It will show item missing otherwise. If you rely on Wonies for resources to craft with, I'd recommend a minimum shade level of 1000. So that covers off crafting. Next up, let's take a look at recalibration. Recalibration, or recal for short, can be accessed at a table just next to the crafting tables. Similarly to crafting, there are 3 of these in the game, 2 in the White House and 1 in Haven. Recalibration is probably the most important mechanic in the game when it comes to building. What it does is it enables you to replace a single stat on any given gear piece with an entirely new one, allowing you to min-max and perfect all rolls, ensuring that no roll on your build is wasted. There are 2 key components to recalibration: the recalibration library and item recalibration itself. Firstly, let's look at the recalibration library. This is basically a library which contains all of the stats and rolls available to you to transfer onto other gear pieces. So how do you get stats and rolls into this library? To do this, you first need a gear piece with the stat that you wish to add. You'll then open up the library via the recalibration station and find the gear piece and respective roll you wish to add to the library. Once you've found that, you just need to select the gear piece with the roll you wish to add before pressing this button. This will add the roll to your library permanently, so you only need to do this once per roll, assuming the roll you're adding is maxed out. But it comes with the caveat that the original gear piece will be permanently destroyed in the process. As such, try to avoid donating any gear pieces that you want to use in a build to the library. So that's the library covered off. Next, let's look at actually recalibrating an item. To recalibrate an item, the process is very simple. You open up the recalibration station, select the gear slot that the item sits in, select the item and roll you wish to recalibrate, then press the button to recalibrate, which is visible on the bottom of the screen. The limitation of recalibration is that you can only recalibrate a single attribute, although you can recalibrate that attribute an infinite number of times, meaning once you recalibrate something, you won't be able to go back and change any other attributes. For example, if I recalibrate the critical hit damage on these knee pads, I can't then go and recalibrate the critical hit chance. You also can't recalibrate exotics, nor can you recalibrate the named attributes of named items, which covers perfect talents or specific attributes, like Fox's prayer damage to targets out of cover. If you rely on resources from Wonies to recal with, I'd recommend a minimum shade level of 1000. So we've done the core basics now, recalibration and crafting. Let's move on to later game build mechanics. The first of these is optimization. Optimization allows you to trade resources for marginal improvements to a single attribute on a gear piece. What this means in practice is that if you get a piece with the right rolls, instead of farming for another piece with the same rolls but higher, you can just donate resources to max the original piece out. That said, optimization isn't always the fastest or easiest option, especially if you don't have access to many resources, as it's pretty expensive. Optimization works very similarly to recalibration in how it's done. You can access the optimization menu via any recalibration station, then you just need to flick to the gear piece you want to optimize, select the attribute and hold the optimize button. How much your actual stat goes up will vary dependent on the role you currently have. How optimization works is each stat is broken down into 10 stages. So, for instance, if we have a stat which maxes out at 10%, this will be broken into 10 increments of 1%. The first optimization you do, if the stat you wish to optimize isn't already at one of these round increments, will just get you to the next increment. This is why you may do one round of optimization and gain as little as 0.1% on a stat. After that first optimization, you'll get the full 1% per future optimization. Obviously, that exact percentage varies dependent on the total roll of the stat you're optimizing. I mentioned earlier that optimization is expensive. It brings with it unique resources specifically used to optimize with. These materials can be farmed organically, but the drop rates are hideously slow. Instead of doing this, I'd recommend grinding crafting blueprints for the resources from challenging on heroic control points and doing it that way. Unlike recalibration, optimization works on exotics. This means that if you have an exotic very close to max, it's probably a better idea to optimize as opposed to reroll via the crafting station. Because of the huge cost of optimization, I would recommend a minimum shade level of 2,500 if you're relying on Woni runs for your resources. Last, but definitely not least, let's talk expertise. This is one that even experienced players seem to get very confused by to this day. It's a relatively new implementation and brought with it a bunch of new terminology which is thrown around frequently with varying levels of correctness. I'd like to forenote this section by saying that I will not be telling you what is or isn't a valuable use of expertise leveling, just how it works, the underpinning terminology, and so on. Sensible use of expertise is a subjective and situational matter. Expertise, in short, allows you to give bonuses to the gear you play with the most, be that extra armor, extra weapon damage, or a whole host of skill buffs. These bonuses span further than usual roles are capable of. Expertise revolves around a core leveling system called proficiency. Every single item in the game has a proficiency rank. This is a number between 0 and 10, with 10 being the max. An item at proficiency level 10 can also be referred to as proficient. So if proficiency is the individual level, what's expertise? Expertise is the overarching level for which expertise XP is equal to the sum of your proficiency levels. Say, for instance, you level the classic M1A to proficiency level 10, aka make it proficient, then you level the chatterbox to proficiency level 7. You've earned 17 XP towards the next expertise level. These expertise levels require 200 XP per level until you reach level 15, where that will change to 140 XP. And once you've got an item proficient, every copy of that item will be proficient, aka you can't gain extra expertise XP by making the same item proficient over and over. There are many sources of proficiency, including playing with any given item equipped, which will reward levels based on kill XP. Kill XP doesn't change with difficulty, so you can do this on the lowest difficulty possible. In addition to this, there are some meta strats for farming expertise. The first is the cheapest, but also least efficient. This is Countdown. Simply put, set your target loot to whatever you want to make proficient, play challenging Countdown, pick up the loot, and donate it at the expertise table. Donations will complete 0.5 proficiency levels per donation, so you'll need to donate 20 copies of each item to make that item fully proficient. The next meta strat, which is the fastest by a long way as long as you have a relatively high SHD level, is running Wonies. Once you've completed a Wonie, you can claim printer filament and donate it. You donate printer filament because this is mathematically the lowest scavenging points cost per expertise level. That said, running Wonies for printer filament to donate to expertise is only worth it if you have a pretty high SHD level to make best use of your time. I'd recommend you avoiding this strategy to level expertise if you're under SHD 4500. Once you've leveled your expertise up, you can upgrade the skills, specialization, armor or weapons that you want to, provided that the item you intend on leveling is proficient. To do so, you just open up the recalibration station, flick over to expertise, hover the item you wish to upgrade and hold the upgrade button. Similarly to optimization, this will incrementally level the item with the predefined bonus and will cost increasing amounts of resources as you reach higher levels. So hopefully that information around the various build systems within the Division 2 has been useful. Whether you're a brand new player or veteran, if you learned something, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to help more people see this. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I try my best to reply to all comments. Thanks for watching.